explain how whales became larger and truly aquatic. This was the next stage in the story. It's the last place on Earth you'd expect to find anything to do with water. But here in the Sahara Desert, there is evidence that some underwater creatures once lived here. It's a place that has intrigued marine paleontologist Dr. Mark Ewing.
40 million years ago, this whole area was covered with a vast ocean that we call the Tethys Sea. It extended from the North Atlantic across the Mediterranean and covering much of North Africa and northern India. And the water would have come in here not just covering the valleys, but covering even the highest peaks. And all the layers that you see here were once the ocean bottom. You can see evidence for that all over the place here. Here's an oyster shell. Here's a snail. And I even found a shark tooth. These are all things you just don't expect to find in the desert.
Something else you don't expect to find are giant whales. When skeletons like these were first discovered in the 19th century, they were thought to be the remains of huge sea serpents. They were named Basilosaurus, which means king lizard. But Basilosaurus was no giant lizard. It has a mouthful of unmistakably mammalian teeth.
This is the snout of the animal, and this is the roof of the mouth. And these are the incisors. These are the front teeth, here, here, and here. And as you get further back, you see the teeth have two roots. You see two here, and two here. Basilosaurus has actually very few teeth compared to modern toothed whales, and has the number of teeth much more like primitive mammals. They use their front teeth to grab onto prey, and then they use their back teeth to chew their food, unlike modern toothed whales which swallow their food whole.
This area in Egypt was named Valley of the Whales because the desert floor is littered with the remains of Basilosaurus. These creatures were giant predators, but they weren't quite like modern whales yet. Their bodies were long and snake-like, and they still had some primitive characteristics that linked them back to their ancestors on land.
These are the back legs of Basilosaurus. You can see here the pelvis, the femur, the kneecap, the lower leg, and the foot, which even has little toes on it. These tiny hind legs weren't attached to the backbone, and their small size shows us that they couldn't support the body weight on land. So if they weren't used for walking, what could they have been used for? Well, one idea is they were used as sexual claspers, that the male and female used them to hook up during mating and hold on while they mated.
At 18 meters long, Basilosaurus was probably the largest animal on Earth at that time.
When the whales walked, Wadi al-Hitan, Whale Valley. Wadi al-Hitan, or the Whale Valley, is about 100 kilometers southwest of Cairo in Egypt. Various fossils of marine creatures, including over 400 whale skeleton fossils, have been discovered here since the beginning of the 20th century. Wadi al-Hitan today is an open-air museum of prehistoric history. About 60 different kinds of shellfish fossils were also found here. The whole Whale Valley area was covered by a shallow sea some 40 million years ago, before the land was pushed up by shifting tectonic plates. As the climate is extremely dry, the fossils have been preserved. A whale with feet? These are the remains of front feet. This great discovery was made in 1989 during the third survey mission carried out by Michigan University, which is in the United States. All over the world, people were fascinated by their find. The whale also had vestigial hind feet. In 2005, the fossil of the hind feet of a Basilosaurus isis were discovered. It was one of the largest whales which existed about 40 million years ago. Large it may have been, but their feet were comparatively short, given its 18-metre length. The hind feet bones stretch from the pelvic area. They only had 3 toes. That showed that the hind feet were already in a retrogression process. The fossils found in Wadi al-Hitan have helped reveal the early stages of the whale's evolution process, surprisingly in Egypt. In 2005, Wadi al-Hitan was inscribed as a World Heritage Site, and excavation is still underway in the search for greater understanding of the mysteries of life.